Commander Marcus Kane stood in the cargo bay of the transport ship, checking his equipment one last time. His worn tactical vest held 3 different types of weapons, medical supplies, and communication devices. Everything was perfectly organized, just like his military training had taught him years ago. The other passengers on the ship gave him strange looks. Marcus was used to it. Humans were not common in this part of space. Most aliens thought his species was too primitive to be useful. They looked at his short height, his simple weapons, and his basic equipment with obvious doubt. Marcus did not care what they thought. He had a job to do. "Attention passengers, we will arrive at Kepler 7 station in 30 minutes, the ship's computer announced in the musical language of the Zephyrians. Marcus understood every word. Learning alien languages was part of his job as a security contractor. In the 5 years since Earth had joined the Galactic Trade Federation, he had learned to speak with dozens of different species. Most of them still treated humans like children who had just learned to walk. A soft chiming sound filled the air. Marcus turned to see Princess Lyrelei approaching him. She moved with the natural grace that all Zephyrians possessed. Her skin looked like it was made of living crystal, shifting between blue and silver as the light hit it. Her eyes were large and completely black, showing no emotion. "Commander Kane," she said in perfect English. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "I want to discuss our mission." Marcus straightened up and gave her a respectful nod. "Of course, Your Highness. What would you like to know?" Princess Lyrelei looked around the cargo bay. The other passengers had moved away, giving them privacy. "Tell me honestly, do you think the peace talks will succeed?" Marcus considered his answer carefully. The princess had hired him specifically because she wanted human honesty, not the polite lies that other aliens told royalty. "I think someone does not want them to succeed," he said finally. The princess tilted her head, a Zephyrian gesture of curiosity. "Explain." "The Vorthan Collective agreed to these talks too easily," Marcus said. "They have been fighting your people for 20 years. Now suddenly they want peace? And they specifically requested that the talks happen on Kepler 7, a neutral station that is hard to defend. My mother's advisors believe the Vorthans are tired of war," Princess Lyrelei said. Marcus shook his head. "Your Highness, humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. I know what tired warriors look like. The Vorthan delegates I have seen in the news feeds do not look tired. They look hungry." Princess Lyrelei was quiet for a long moment. Her crystalline skin shifted to a darker blue color, which Marcus had learned meant she was thinking deeply. "This is why I chose a human bodyguard," she said finally. "Your species sees things that our technology misses. We see things differently because we think differently," Marcus agreed. "But that also means I might be wrong. Maybe the Vorthans really do want peace. But you do not believe that." "No, Your Highness, I do not." The princess nodded slowly. "Then we will be ready for trouble." Marcus looked at her with new respect. Most royalty he had met were too proud to listen to warnings from their guards. Princess Lyrelei was different. She was young and inexperienced, but she was not stupid. "Your Highness, may I ask why these talks are so important to you personally?" Princess Lyrelei's skin shifted to a pale silver color. Marcus had learned this meant she was feeling vulnerable. "I am third in line for the throne," she said quietly. "My older sisters are better warriors and better diplomats. This mission is my chance to prove that I can serve our people. And if the talks fail, then I will have failed in front of the entire galaxy." Marcus understood now. This was not just about peace between 2 alien species. This was about a young woman trying to earn her place in the world. He had felt the same pressure when he was a young soldier trying to prove himself to his commanding officers. "Your Highness," he said carefully, "sometimes the most important victories happen when everything goes wrong." Before the princess could ask what he meant, the ship's computer announced their arrival at Kepler 7 station. The station was massive, built into a hollow asteroid that had been carved out and fitted with artificial gravity. Ships from dozens of different species were docked at the outer ring. The neutral zone in the center contained meeting rooms, hotels, and trading posts where different species could interact safely. Marcus felt uneasy as soon as they entered the station. There were too many ways in and out. Too many hiding places. Too many unknown variables. It was a security nightmare. Their delegation consisted of 12 Zephyrians, including the princess plus Marcus. The Zephyrian guards were tall and elegant, carrying energy weapons that could cut through metal. They moved with military precision, but Marcus noticed they kept looking around nervously. First time on a neutral station? Marcus asked Captain Zeril, the head of the Zephyrian security team. Yes, Zeril admitted. We usually meet other species on our own worlds or theirs. This place feels chaotic. Marcus nodded. That is exactly what makes it dangerous. Too many unknown factors. They were escorted to a luxury suite in the diplomatic quarter. Marcus immediately began checking the rooms for hidden cameras, listening devices, and possible escape routes. The Zephyrian guards watched him work with curiosity. You are very thorough, Captain Zeril observed. Paranoid, Marcus corrected, but paranoid people live longer. That evening, Princess Lyrelei held a private dinner for the delegation. The Zephyrians ate delicate foods that looked like crystallized light and spoke in their musical language about art and philosophy. Marcus stood guard near the door, listening to everything and watching for threats. Commander Kane, the princess called to him. Please join us. You are part of this mission. Marcus shook his head politely. Thank you, Your Highness, but I prefer to stay alert. You cannot guard me properly if you do not understand what we are trying to accomplish, she insisted. Marcus considered this and realized she was right. He sat down at the table, though he kept his weapons within easy reach. The Vorthons believe that strength comes from conquest, Princess Lyrelei explained to him. They expand their territory by taking resources from other species. We Zephyrians believe that strength comes from cooperation and trade. What do humans believe? Asked one of the other Zephyrians. Marcus thought about this seriously. We believe that strength comes from surviving impossible situations, he said finally. My species has faced extinction many times. We learn to adapt or die. Is that why you see danger where we see opportunity? Princess Lyrelei asked. Maybe, Marcus said. Or maybe I am just naturally suspicious. Late that night, Marcus could not sleep. He walked the corridors of their suite, checking the security systems again and again. Everything looked normal, but something felt wrong. He found Princess Lyrelei standing on the observation deck, looking out at the stars through the station's transparent walls. Cannot sleep either? She asked without turning around. I keep thinking about tomorrow, Marcus admitted. The Vorthon delegation arrives in the morning. After that, we will be committed to staying here for at least a week. You think we are walking into a trap? I think someone wants us here very badly. That always makes me nervous. Princess Lyrelei turned to face him. In the starlight, her crystalline skin looked like it was made of silver fire. Commander Kane, if something goes wrong tomorrow, what should I do? Marcus met her black eyes steadily. Trust me to keep you alive, Your Highness. That is what you hired me for. The princess nodded. Then I will trust you. Marcus hoped he would prove worthy of that trust. Something was coming tomorrow. He could feel it in his bones. The peace talks were just the beginning. The attack came during the opening ceremony. Marcus had been watching the Vorthon delegation since they arrived that morning. The Vorthons were large reptilian creatures with thick armor-like skin and cold yellow eyes. They moved like predators, always scanning for weakness. Their leader, General Korath, had smiled too much during the introductions. The ceremony was being held in the station's main conference hall. Representatives from 30 different species had come to witness the historic peace talks. Princess Lyrelei gave a beautiful speech about cooperation and understanding between species. The Vorthons listened politely and said all the right words in response. Marcus stood behind the princess, his eyes constantly moving. Captain Zeril and his guards were positioned around the room. Everything looked normal, but Marcus felt like he was waiting for lightning to strike. It started with the lights going out. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, bathing the room in red light. The station's computer began announcing a power failure in calm, recorded voices. Delegates from various species began talking nervously among themselves. Then the explosions began. The first blast came from the docking ring where the ships were attached to the station. Marcus felt the deck shake under his feet. The second explosion was closer, somewhere in the diplomatic quarter. Everyone remain calm, announced the station's security chief over the communication system. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stay in your assigned areas. Marcus did not believe it for a second. He grabbed Princess Lyrelei's arm and pulled her away from the podium. Your Highness, we need to leave now. What is happening? She asked, her crystalline skin flashing between blue and silver with fear. I do not know, but we are not staying to find out. Captain Zeril appeared at Marcus's side, his energy rifle ready. Commander Kane, what are your orders? Marcus was surprised. The Zephyrian captain was asking a human for orders. Get the princess to the emergency shuttles. I will cover the rear. They moved quickly through the corridors of the station. Other delegates were also trying to reach the shuttle bays, creating crowds and confusion. Marcus kept the princess close to him, his hand on his sidearm. The first Vorthan soldier appeared when they were halfway to the shuttles. He came around a corner, carrying a heavy plasma rifle that could cut through station walls. Marcus saw him before the Zephyrian guards did. Without thinking, Marcus threw himself sideways, tackling Princess Lyra to the floor just as the energy beam passed over their heads. The beam hit Captain Giral instead. The Zephyrian captain screamed as the plasma tore through his chest armor. He fell backward, his own weapon clattering across the floor. The other Zephyrian guards raised their weapons, but the Vorthan was already moving to new cover. Marcus rolled, grabbed Ziral's dropped rifle, and came up firing. The energy weapon felt strange in his hands. It was heavier than human guns and fired bolts of pure energy instead of bullets. But Marcus adapted quickly. He put 3 shots into the corridor wall where the Vorthan was hiding, forcing the enemy soldier to retreat. Move, Marcus shouted to the remaining guards. Get the princess to the shuttles! More Vorthans appeared from both directions. They had planned this attack perfectly, cutting off the main escape routes and trapping the delegates in the center of the station. Their weapons were more powerful than anything the station's security forces carried, but they had not planned for a human. Marcus used tactics that no alien species had ever seen before. While the Zephyrian guards tried to fight the Vorthans directly, Marcus disappeared into the maintenance shafts that ran between the station's walls. He moved through spaces too small for the larger alien soldiers, appearing behind them when they least expected it. The Vorthans had computer systems that could predict enemy movements based on logical tactical choices. But Marcus did not make logical choices. He attacked from impossible angles, used improvised weapons, and changed his strategy every few minutes. The enemy computers could not keep up. Princess Lyra watched in amazement as the human warrior seemed to be everywhere at once. She saw him drop down from ceiling vents to attack Vorthans from above. She saw him jury-rig explosives from cleaning supplies and maintenance tools. She saw him use his smaller size to move through spaces that the larger aliens could not follow. But there were too many enemies. For every Vorthan that Marcus defeated, 2 more appeared. The remaining Zephyrian guards were falling back, their elegant formations broken by the chaos of close combat. Princess Lyra realized they were not going to reach the shuttles. This way, Marcus called to her, pointing toward a service corridor that led deeper into the station. That is the wrong direction, she protested. The shuttles are compromised, Marcus said, reloading his captured weapon. We need to find another way out. They crawled through maintenance tunnels that were barely wide enough for a human. Princess Lyra's elegant robes tore on the rough metal edges, but she did not complain. Behind them, they could hear the Vorthans shouting in their harsh language as they searched for their escaped prisoners. Marcus led them to an emergency supply depot deep in the station's core. There were no windows here, just storage containers and backup life support systems, but there was also an emergency communication array. I need to contact the Zephyrian fleet, Princess Lyra said, moving toward the communication panel. No, Marcus stopped her. If you send a message, the Vorthans will trace it and find us. Then what do we do? Marcus was examining the storage containers. Most contained standard emergency supplies, but one held something more interesting: the station's emergency repair drones. Small automated robots designed to fix hull breaches and electrical problems. Can you reprogram these? He asked the princess. Princess Lyra looked at the drones with confusion. Yes, but why would we need repair drones? Because we are going to turn them into weapons. It took them 2 hours to modify the drones. Princess Lyra used her knowledge of Zephyrian technology to reprogram their computer systems, while Marcus attached improvised explosive charges to their chassis. The result was a small army of flying bombs that could navigate the station's corridors automatically. This is insane, Princess Lyra said as they watched the modified drones fly away through the ventilation system. Sometimes insane is what works, Marcus replied. The drones found their targets throughout the station. Each one was programmed to seek out Vorthan energy signatures and detonate when it found them. The explosions were small, but they created chaos and confusion among the enemy forces. More importantly, They sent a message to the Zephyrian fleet waiting outside the station. The rescue came 12 hours later. Zephyrian warships surrounded the station and demanded the surrender of the Vorthan forces. But by then the damage was done. The peace talks were over before they had really begun. Marcus sat in the medical bay of the rescue ship, getting treated for cuts and burns from the fighting. Princess Lyrelei had refused to leave his side, even though protocol demanded that she be taken to safety immediately. "The doctors say you will recover completely," she told him. Marcus nodded, though he felt exhausted. "What about the talks? Will they try again?" Princess Lyrelei's skin shifted to a deep blue color. "There will be no more talks. The Vorthans used the peace negotiations as cover for an invasion fleet. While we were trapped on the station, they attacked 3 of our outer colonies. I am sorry, Your Highness." "Sorry?" Princess Lyrelei looked at him with surprise. "Commander Kane, you saved my life. More than that, you proved that the Vorthans were planning treachery. The intelligence we gathered from their equipment will help us prepare for their next attack." Marcus closed his eyes. He was too tired to feel proud or satisfied. All he could think about was Captain Zeril and the other Zephyrian guards who had died protecting people they barely knew. "Your Highness," he said quietly, "when we get back to your homeworld, I would like to request transport back to Earth." Princess Lyrelei was quiet for a long moment. "We will discuss that when you are feeling better," she said finally. But Marcus had already made up his mind. This mission was over and he wanted to go home. Marcus woke up in a room that looked like it was made of crystal and starlight. The walls were transparent, showing gardens that stretched as far as he could see. Floating platforms held beds of flowers that glowed with their own inner light. The ceiling was a dome of clear material that revealed the purple sky of an alien world. He was on Zephyros Prime, the homeworld of Princess Lyrelei's people. "You are awake," said a soft voice. A Zephyrian medical technician approached his bed, her skin a gentle green color. "How do you feel?" Marcus tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. His body felt like he had been hit by a transport ship. "Like I was in a fight with a dozen Vorthans," he said honestly. The medical technician made a sound that might have been laughter. "Actually, it was more like 20. Princess Lyrelei has told everyone about your battle on the station. How long was I unconscious?" 3 weeks. Your injuries were very serious. We had to use advanced medical techniques that are usually reserved for members of the royal family." Marcus looked down at himself. His chest was covered with a web of silver lines that seemed to pulse with their own light. "What did you do to me?" "Biosynthetic tissue regeneration," the technician explained. "Your species heals differently than ours, so we had to adapt our technology. The princess insisted that we use the best treatments available." Before Marcus could ask more questions, the door opened and Princess Lyrelei entered the room. She moved more confidently than he remembered, and her crystalline skin had a new depth of color that suggested she had changed during his recovery. "Commander Kane," she said, and her voice carried a warmth that had not been there before. "I am glad to see you awake, Your Highness." Marcus tried to stand up, but she gestured for him to remain in bed. "You saved my life," she said simply. "More than that, you prevented a war that could have destroyed millions of lives. The intelligence we recovered from the Vorthan equipment has already helped us stop 2 more attacks. I was doing my job." "No," Princess Lyrelei said firmly. "You went far beyond your job. When the Vorthan soldier fired at me, you put yourself in the path of the energy beam. You nearly died protecting someone you had known for only a few days." Marcus remembered the moment clearly. He had not thought about it, just acted on instinct. Anyone would have done the same thing. "That is where you are wrong," Princess Lyrelei said. "I have spoken with many of your fellow humans since you have been recovering. Apparently there is a saying among your species. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." Marcus was surprised that she knew human philosophy. "You have been studying my people?" "I have been trying to understand what makes humans different from other species. What I learned was very interesting." Before she could explain further, another voice interrupted them. "So the human hero awakens at last." Marcus turned to see a figure that made him immediately try to stand up despite his injuries. Queen Thessarian had entered the room, and her presence filled the space like a force of nature. The queen was taller than her daughter, and her crystalline skin shifted through colors that Marcus had never seen before. Her black eyes seemed to look directly into his soul. She moved with the absolute confidence of someone who had ruled an interstellar empire for centuries. "Your Majesty," Marcus said, attempting to bow while still lying in bed. "Commander Kane," the Queen said, her voice carrying the sound of distant thunder. "I have come to thank you personally for protecting my daughter. I was honored to serve, Your Majesty." Queen Thessarian studied him for a long moment. "Tell me, human, what do you want as a reward for your service?" Marcus did not hesitate. "Safe passage back to Earth, Your Majesty. I would like to go home." The Queen's expression did not change, but Princess Lyrelai's skin suddenly shifted to a pale silver color. Marcus had learned that this meant distress or sadness. "That request is denied," Queen Thessarian said calmly. Marcus felt as if he had been hit in the chest again. "I beg your pardon, Your Majesty." "You have proven yourself worthy of the highest honor that our society can bestow," the Queen continued. "You will remain on Zephyros Prime as a permanent member of the Royal Guard. You will be given the rank of Guardian Protector and placed in charge of my daughter's security. Your Majesty, I appreciate the honor, but I never agreed to permanent service. The agreement was made when you chose to risk your life for a member of our royal family," Queen Thessarian explained. "In our culture, such dedication creates a life bond that cannot be broken. To refuse this honor would be an insult to our entire civilization." Marcus looked at Princess Lyrelai, hoping she would help him understand, but her skin had turned even paler, and she would not meet his eyes. "What does this life bond mean exactly?" Marcus asked carefully. "It means you belong to us now," the Queen said. "You will be given every comfort, every luxury, every privilege of nobility. But you may not leave this world without royal permission." Marcus felt trapped. He had gone from being a free man to being a very well-treated prisoner. "And if I refuse?" "Then you would be declaring that our highest honor is worthless," the Queen said. "Such an insult would require us to reconsider our alliance with Earth. Other species would see that humans cannot be trusted to honor their commitments." Now Marcus understood. This was not really about honor or life bonds. This was about politics. The Queen wanted to keep him here for reasons that had nothing to do with protecting her daughter. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "may I ask why you really want me to stay?" Queen Thessarian's skin shifted to a darker color, and Marcus realized he had surprised her with his directness. "Very well," she said. "I will be honest with you as you have been honest with us. Your actions on the station have made you famous throughout the galaxy. The human who bled for a princess has become a symbol of interspecies cooperation. Your presence here legitimizes our claims of friendship with Earth. And your tactical mind has impressed our military leaders. Your unconventional thinking could be very valuable in future conflicts with the Vorthans." Marcus nodded slowly. "So I am to be both a political symbol and a military advisor." "You will be whatever the royal family needs you to be," the Queen said. "But you will be treated with the respect due to someone who has earned our highest honor." Princess Lyrelai finally spoke up. "Mother, perhaps we could allow Commander Kane some time to consider your offer." "There is nothing to consider," the Queen replied. "The decision has been made." She turned back to Marcus. "You will be given apartments in the royal palace. You may request any books, entertainment, or comforts you desire. You will have access to our finest technology and our greatest libraries. Many beings would consider this a paradise." "A very beautiful prison," Marcus said quietly. "A prison has locks and guards," the Queen corrected. "You will have neither. You simply will not be permitted to leave the planet." After the Queen left, Princess Lyrelai remained behind. She stood by the window looking out at the glowing gardens. "I am sorry," she said without turning around. "Did you know this would happen?" Marcus asked. "I suspected it. My mother has been looking for ways to strengthen our relationship with Earth. Your heroism gave her the perfect opportunity." "And what do you think about it?" Princess Lyrelai finally turned to face him. Her skin was cycling through colors that Marcus had never seen before, expressing emotions that he could not begin to understand. "I think," she said slowly, "that I have learned something terrible about myself. I am glad that my mother wants to keep you here even though I know it is wrong." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. He was beginning to understand that his situation was more complicated than simple political maneuvering. "Your Highness," he said gently, "what exactly are you trying to tell me?" But Princess Lyrelai had already left the room, leaving Marcus alone with questions that he was not sure he wanted answered. 6 months later, Marcus stood on the balcony of his apartments in the royal palace, watching the twin suns set over the Zephyrian capital city. His rooms were larger than most houses on Earth. The walls could display any environment he wanted to see: earth forests, ocean views, even recordings of his hometown. The furniture adapted to his body automatically. Servants brought him food from across the galaxy. He had access to libraries containing the knowledge of 1,000 worlds. He had never been more miserable in his life. Marcus wore the formal uniform of a guardian protector now. The fabric was made from threads that captured and reflected light, making it seem like he was dressed in liquid starlight. A ceremonial weapon hung at his side. Though he was never allowed to carry real ammunition, everything about his life was beautiful, comfortable, and completely artificial. "Commander Kane," a voice called from behind him. Marcus turned to see Captain Vorthak, the new head of Princess Laerale's security team. The Zephyrian officer had replaced Captain Zeril after the attack on the station. He was competent but cold, treating Marcus with the polite respect due to his rank while making it clear that he resented taking orders from a human. "What is it, Captain?" "Her Highness requests your presence in the strategy room. We have received new intelligence about Vorthon movements." Marcus nodded and followed the captain through the corridors of the palace. These meetings had become routine. The Queen's military advisors would present information about enemy activities. Marcus would offer suggestions based on human tactical thinking, and everyone would pretend that his advice was being taken seriously. But Marcus had begun to suspect that these meetings served a different purpose. He was learning too much about Zephyrian military capabilities, their fleet positions, and their strategic planning. They were either incredibly trusting, or they were deliberately feeding him information for reasons he did not understand. Princess Laerale was waiting in the strategy room, along with several high-ranking military officers. She had changed during the months since the station attack. Her skin showed more complex color patterns now, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had proven herself in battle. "Commander Kane," she said formally, "thank you for joining us." Marcus took his usual place at the strategy table. A three-dimensional map of local space appeared above the surface, showing the positions of Zephyrian and Vorthon fleets. "The Vorthons have been probing our outer defenses," explained General Morveth, the Queen's chief military advisor. "Small attacks on isolated colonies, testing our response times." Marcus studied the display. "They are not testing your response times," he said. "They are mapping your defensive positions." "For what purpose?" asked Captain Vorthak. "They are planning something big," Marcus replied. "These small attacks are designed to make you reinforce your outer colonies. When you move ships to protect the frontier, you weaken the defenses around your core worlds." General Morveth's skin shifted to a worried orange color. "You think they are planning to attack Zephyros Prime?" "I think they are planning to attack something that would hurt more than your homeworld," Marcus said, studying the patterns of Vorthon movement. "They are not trying to conquer territory. They want to destroy your ability to make war." Princess Laerale leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Marcus pointed to a section of the map. "Your main shipyards are here at Kepler the 18th. All of your advanced warships are built there. If the Vorthons could destroy those facilities, it would take you years to rebuild your fleet." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "How long would we have to prepare?" General Morveth asked. "Based on these movement patterns, I would say 2 weeks at most." After the meeting, Princess Laerale asked Marcus to walk with her through the palace gardens. This had become their routine, a few minutes of private conversation away from the formal atmosphere of court. "You seem troubled," she observed as they walked among the glowing flowers. "I am always troubled." "Your Highness, that is my job." "No," she said. "This is different. You look like a man who has made a difficult decision." Marcus stopped walking and turned to face her. "Your Highness, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly." "Of course. Are you and your mother using these strategy meetings to feed me information about human tactics? Are you studying the way I think so that you can develop countermeasures?" Princess Laerale's skin went completely white, a color Marcus had never seen before. "What makes you ask that?" "Because I'm learning too much about your military capabilities. Either you trust me completely or you want me to know these things for a reason." Princess Laerale was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. My mother believes that humans will eventually become a threat to other species. She wants to understand how your minds work so that we can be prepared. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. And what do you believe? I believe that my mother is wrong about humans being a threat, Princess Lyrelay said. But I also believe that she is right to study your tactics. The Vorthons are not the only enemy we will face, so I am both a prisoner and a research subject. You are also something else, Princess Lyrali said quietly. What? She turned to look at him, and Marcus saw something in her black eyes that made his heart race. You are someone I have come to care about more than I should. Marcus stared at her. Your Highness, I know it is impossible, she said quickly. I know that our species are too different, that our cultures would never accept it, that you are here against your will. But I cannot help how I feel. Marcus felt the weight of the situation crushing down on him. He was trapped on an alien world, being used as a political symbol and military advisor, and now the princess was telling him that she had feelings for him. Princess Lyrelay, he said gently. What exactly are you saying? I am saying that I love you, she replied, her skin cycling through colors that expressed emotions Marcus could not begin to understand. I am saying that the thought of you eventually leaving fills me with despair. I am saying that I am a terrible person for being glad that my mother has trapped you here. Marcus closed his eyes. He had suspected this was coming, but hearing it out loud made everything more complicated. Your Highness, he said carefully, I care about you too. You are brave and intelligent and kind, but this situation is impossible. I know, she said sadly, but I needed to tell you the truth. They stood in silence among the alien flowers, two beings from different worlds caught in a situation that neither of them had chosen. Your Highness, Marcus said finally, I have been thinking about escape. Princess Lyrely's skin went pale again. Marcus, no. If you try to leave and are caught, my mother will have no choice but to treat you as a criminal. The political consequences would be severe. But if I succeeded? If you succeeded, it would mean I would never see you again. Marcus looked at her and realized that his feelings had become more complicated than he wanted to admit. He cared about Princess Lyrelay, genuinely cared about her. The thought of never seeing her again was painful, but the thought of spending the rest of his life as a beautiful prisoner was even worse. I need to think about this, he said. Princess Lyrelay nodded. I understand. But Marcus, please remember that your choices will affect more than just yourself. The alliance between our peoples, the war with the Vorthons, the future of both our species, all of it is connected to what you decide. As they walked back to the palace, Marcus realized that he was no longer just a bodyguard or a prisoner. He had become a piece in a game that was much larger than he had ever imagined. The question was whether he was going to be a piece that others moved around the board, or whether he was going to start making moves of his own. The emergency alarm woke Marcus from his sleep 3 days later. He rolled out of bed and grabbed his clothes, his military training taking over even before he was fully awake. The alarm was using the pattern that meant imminent attack, not a drill or a minor emergency, but real danger. Marcus ran through the palace corridors toward the command center. Other members of the royal guard were moving in the same direction, their faces grim with worry. It was still dark outside, but the palace was blazing with light as everyone responded to the crisis. He found Princess Lyrelay in the command center, surrounded by military officers and communication equipment. Her skin was cycling through rapid color changes that showed extreme stress. What is happening? Marcus asked. The Vorthons have attacked New Geneva colony, she said without looking up from the tactical display. It is one of your human settlements in the outer rim. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. How bad? They completely destroyed the orbital stations and landed ground forces on the planet. The colonists are fighting back, but they are massively outnumbered. General Morveth appeared beside them, his skin a dark red color that Marcus had learned meant anger. This is clearly revenge for your actions on Kepler 7 station, he told Marcus. The Vorthons have declared that humans are now legitimate military targets because of your interference in galactic politics. Marcus stared at the tactical display, watching red symbols represent Vorthon ships surrounding the small blue dot that represented the human colony. 300,000 people lived on New Geneva. Farmers, teachers, engineers, children, all of them now under attack because he had protected an alien princess. What are we doing to help them? He asked. Nothing. Queen Thessarian's voice cut through the room like a blade. Marcus turned to see her entering the command center, her presence making everyone else seem small and insignificant. This is not our war. Your Majesty, Marcus said carefully. You just said that they are attacking humans because of what I did in your service. What you did was protect my daughter, the Queen replied coldly. If the Vorthons choose to take revenge on your species for that act, it is not our responsibility. Marcus felt something snap inside him. Those are innocent people. So were the millions of Zephyrians who died before you helped us understand Vorthon tactics, the Queen said. War is never fair, Commander Kane. Your Majesty, Princess Lorelei spoke up quietly. Perhaps we should reconsider. If we help defend the human colony, it would strengthen our alliance with Earth. It would also commit us to a ground war that could last for years, General Morveth pointed out. Our fleet is designed for space combat, not planetary invasions. Marcus looked around the room at the alien faces surrounding him. These people had taken him into their home, given him honor and respect, and treated him like a valued member of their society. But when his own species was in danger, they were willing to stand by and watch humans die. Your Majesty, he said formally, I request permission to return to Earth. The room fell silent. Queen Thessarian's skin shifted to colors that Marcus had never seen before. That request is denied, she said finally. Then I demand it, Marcus replied. You are in no position to make demands, the Queen said, her voice carrying a dangerous edge. Marcus straightened up and looked her directly in the eyes. Your Majesty, you have told me that I am here because of a life bond created when I protected your daughter. But that bond works both ways. If I belong to your family, then you are responsible for my welfare and happiness. What are you saying? I am saying that keeping me here while my people are dying is causing me great suffering. According to your own customs, you have a duty to relieve that suffering. Queen Thessarian stared at him for a long moment. Marcus could see her mind working, trying to find a way around his logic. Very well, she said finally. I will make you an offer. I will grant you permission to leave Zephyros Prime, but only under specific conditions. What conditions? You will return to Earth as our official ambassador. You will work to strengthen the alliance between our species, and you will return here regularly to serve as a military advisor when we face threats like the Vorthons. Marcus considered this carefully. It was not the complete freedom he wanted, but it was better than permanent imprisonment. And if I refuse, then you will remain here permanently, and we will continue to study your tactical methods while your people fight their wars without you. Marcus realized that the Queen had been planning this moment for months. She had never intended to keep him as a simple prisoner. She wanted to turn him into a permanent bridge between the human and Zephyrian civilizations. I accept your offer, he said. Princess Lyralei's skin went completely white. Marcus, no. He turned to look at her, and his heart nearly broke at the pain he saw in her black eyes. Your Highness, I have to help my people. I know, she whispered. But accepting my mother's offer means you will never really be free. You will spend your life traveling between worlds, never truly belonging to either one. Marcus nodded sadly. That is a price I am willing to pay. Queen Thessarian smiled, and Marcus realized that this had been her plan all along. Excellent. You will depart for New Geneva immediately, along with a small Zephyrian fleet to assist in the colony's defense. You are sending military aid? Marcus asked with surprise. I am sending our new ambassador to protect human interests, the Queen corrected. The fleet is simply his escort. 2 hours later, Marcus stood in the shuttle bay of a Zephyrian warship, preparing to depart for the human colony. He wore a new uniform that combined human and Zephyrian design elements, marking his status as an ambassador between worlds. Princess Lorelei came to see him off. I have something for you, she said, holding out a small crystalline device. It is a communication link. No matter where you are in the galaxy, you will be able to contact me. Marcus took the device and slipped it into his pocket. Your Highness, I want you to know that these months on your world have not been a punishment. Getting to know you has been an honor. Even though I helped trap you here. Even though you helped trap me here, Marcus confirmed. You are going to be a great leader someday, Princess Lorelei. Your people are lucky to have you. Tears began forming in her black eyes, the first time Marcus had ever seen a Zephyrian cry. Will I see you again? Yes, Marcus promised. According to your mother's conditions, I will return here regularly. And when I do, I would very much like to see how you are doing. Princess Lyrelei stepped closer to him. Marcus, I want you to know that no matter what happens, no matter where you go or who you become, you will always have a place in my heart. Marcus felt his own eyes beginning to burn with unshed tears. And you will always have a place in mine. They stood looking at each other for a moment that seemed to last forever. Then the ship's communication system announced that departure was imminent. Marcus walked toward the shuttle that would take him to the warship. At the doorway, he turned back to look at Princess Lyrelei one last time. Your Highness, he called to her, take care of yourself. You too, Marcus Kane, she replied. You too. As the shuttle carried him away from Zephyros Prime, Marcus looked out the window at the planet that had been his prison and his home. He was free now, sort of. He would be able to help his people and serve as a bridge between human and alien civilizations. But he was also bound by obligations that would define the rest of his life. He would never be a simple soldier again, never be able to disappear into a crowd and be anonymous. He had become something new, something that the galaxy had never seen before. A human who belonged to both worlds and neither, carrying the hopes and fears of two species on his shoulders. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying Marcus toward New Geneva and whatever battles waited there. Behind him, Princess Lyrelei stood alone in the shuttle bay, watching the stars until they were gone.